Good morning. My name is Michelle Johnson, and I am the James Allen Charter High School Equity and Access Coach. And this month we are celebrating Women's History Month. And so we have Miss Renee Rountreee from MUSC, and she's joining us today, and she's going to talk about some issues in STEM and some of the things that she offers as the youth collaborative coordinator at MUSC, correct? In the division for, let's see, prevention programs?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So what I am going to do, because Miss Rountree has so much put together for us today, I am going to make her the host so that she can manage her slides. So I'm going to do that for you real quick. Give me 1 second. All right.
Good morning, everyone. As Ms. Johnson's already shared, my name is Renee Rountreee, or Miss Rountree, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be here with you all for Women's History Month. This past Monday was International Women's Day, and I'm really grateful to talk to you guys about some achievements, in particular, some achievements in STEM. And we know that STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And I want to talk about some barriers that women experience in relation to STEM, but also other minorities and people of color. So to start off, I wanted to play a little game through Kahoot, and I'm just going to move that real quick, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's do this real quick. Okay, we're going to try it a different way. Okay, so she can STEM. And even though you're not able to answer at home, you can talk about it amongst yourself. So what is the percent of the American workforce is comprised of women? So we have 37 all the way up to 67%. Do you think it's higher than half, less than half? And I'm going to provide a little bit more information because this statistic is from 2019, and we know that with the pandemic, that women have been more directly impacted by the pandemic, and so it's about 47%. And in 2019, nearly 76 million women, and that's women over the age of 16, were in the workforce. And like I shared before, the pandemic has kind of furthered gender, economical, and racial disparities in our country. And so we're going to be seeing a kind of a decline in the workforce, looking at last year and also next year as well. So between 1901 and 2020, how many Nobel Prizes in the scientific fields were awarded by women? So overwhelmingly, we see that there is a disparity between how many men and how many women. So is it 16, is it 99, 25, or 72? Any guesses?
I'm going to say 25.
You are correct. Yes, 25. And out of 347 or 387, that's still not a lot. And actually, Marie Curie, she was the first woman to earn the first Nobel Peace Prize, and her work in radioactivity. So now we're going to look at a study that was done in Europe by Microsoft. They looked at what the disparity between boys and girls in STEM. And so they looked at what age is the first age that girls seem to appear to lose interest in science. So is it 9, like in elementary school, middle school, or high school? What point do you think girls lose interest in science? And it's around age 15. And so this study was done in Europe about 5 years ago. And they noticed that there are 5 major drivers that can cause women, and especially young girls, to lose interest in STEM. And that is encouragement, that is the lack of representation, that is the lack of role models, the lack of access to practical experiences, and also confidence. And so later on in our presentation, we're going to talk about some of these barriers and why they exist. But kind of as an introduction, we are seeing that there is a difference in how STEM is kind of taught to young girls, or how they feel confident in that field versus how young boys are being kind of shaped in relation to STEM. So what percent of women in the workforce hold STEM fields? So we already saw that about half of the workforce is made up of women. So kind of keeping that in mind, do you think it's going to be more or less?
Less.
Yes, it's going to definitely be less. So that
27?
kind of that we're going to see 27. And that is correct, 27%. I'm sure based off of things that we shared before, that is not a surprise. And we're hoping to increase that because actually we're seeing more and more STEM opportunities. It's one of the top 5 job opportunities right now. And actually on the industry side, we're seeing that they need more trained individuals. So there's kind of a disconnect. We have jobs, but we need to put people in those jobs to carry those things out. And those people in those jobs, we want them to be highly trained, highly skilled, but also feel confident and feel that they feel supported in that role. So not only is it important to bring, have a more diverse and inclusive workforce, because that's going to create more innovation, and also is going to create more of an understanding, because a lot of these STEM opportunities, they help all of us, whether it's working at Google or working in research. The questions that these STEM professionals are answering are helping the greater good. And so we want to see ourselves represented in those fields. And so that's something that's where we are right now, 27%. I would love to see that increase more. So keeping that in mind, so we started off with 47%, then we went down to 27%. How many researchers in the world are women?
Ms. Richardson, you want to take this one real quick? You're muted.
Researchers worldwide, I probably would say 30%.
Oh, you are correct. 30%. And when you think of research, sometimes you have that visual of a white male in a lab coat. For me, for a long time, that's when I thought of research, that's what I thought of. And from meeting more people in the field, that kind of changed my mindset. But as we kind of already said, overwhelmingly, the field is driven by men. And so it's very important whenever you kind of see someone who is in research and they look like you kind of cling to them. And a little bit later in the presentation, I'm going to share with you guys some people who I look up to that work with me, who've kind of like paved the road for me. Another introduction that I had to research was through the McNair opportunity. So McNair was one of the first Black astronauts, and so he died in a crash. And so they created this like scholarship opportunity that was to help Black people as they transition into grad school. And so when I was in college, I applied to this opportunity, and you have to do like a whole application. You have to create a plan, and you have to incorporate some kind of aspect of research. And for me, because I didn't have, I didn't know what research was before applying for this kind of position, I kind of just like threw my hat in the ring, so to speak. It was very helpful to kind of learn more that, hey, there are people who do this, and that there is kind of a path for that. Like, you don't have to be like working like in academia. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do with research. And also, research is basically just answering questions about things in the world. And so for the Youth Collaborative, we're answering questions that are related to substance use, but it doesn't have to be limited to that. There's research done in products, like for instance, like the beauty industry. There's a lot of research that's done looking at like making sure that how the products react to skin and hair and nails. There's research in games. There's so many different things. And so even though you may seem like, oh, science is not for me, math is not my strongest area, there's always other aspects that is related to STEM. STEM can be related to art. We also see that sometimes being called as STEAM. And so it's just more than that person in the lab coat. It's a broader view. So the next concept we're going to be looking at is gender essentialism. And so do you think that is looking at the success of one's, confidence and belief? Do you think it's looking at helping people value diversity for greater achievement? Do you think it describes gender differences in academic performance? Or, as our answer has revealed, is it the idea that genders are associated with certain interests and skills?
Can I interject there?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because I can say, and the good thing is that Ms. Richardson, Ms. Graham, and I that are on this call today, and those viewing, we kind of span, I think, the last few generations of that. Not pointing any directions at our ages, but I think collectively we've seen that, right? I know I grew up with my grandmother saying, "Oh, are you going to be a nurse?" And I'm like, I don't even, like stuff with nursing, and she would say, and she was older, she's passed on now, "Oh, you're going to be a typing teacher?" And, these were the things. So I remember that time, and, I'm glad that we have graduated from that. But I do think some people still assign gender to tasks. I can say on the other side, though, like at one point in time, if you had males that were interested in design and fashion, like that stereotype is definitely blown away. You don't see a lot of that, but we just had our first two female referees for the NFL. So I mean, they're breaking barriers, but I feel like for women, it's been a slow move. For us, I don't know if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yes, I definitely think that those things are still lingering, even though like I added the word outdated. And even like when you think about certain professions, like you've already mentioned with like nursing and working in more administrative roles, there's actually a word there. Those are kind of considered to be softer sciences. Like when you think about like psychology, sociology, anthropology, because those are more dominated by women. And and also those things are kind of associated with pay. And those roles, they are not as lucrative as some of the other aspirations. So not only do these terms, they are kind of, they limit the amount of like interest in those roles. So if you kind of being kind of like brought up and thinking like, well, women don't do this, or even like thinking about gender, having it kind of watered down to something that's one or the other, like it's non-binary, like there's a lot of different gender expressions, and so that can be alienating to other populations as well. So just kind of like making it affects the bottom dollar. So these individuals are being paid less, and that means they are not going to be have the same kind of financial cap as someone else who is doing another field. And some of these STEM opportunities can be very you can get a lot of pay associated with it. And so just kind of like that being dominated by a particular gender, a particular type of race, that alienates it. And also too, then that kind of puts those who work in that field, they only kind of see themselves, and you don't get to see other people represented. So I don't know if that helps with some of the things that you asked, but yes, we definitely see these things, and it's still going on. Things are getting better, but there's still that discrepancy in pay. I believe that it's it's like 7 or 8 cents on average for women, but in STEM, you see that closer to 40 cents, how much a male would make versus a woman. And so these ideas, they do have greater impact. And then the next thing we're going to look at is kind of like stereotype threat that's associated with this. So once again, these ideas, they have implications, like there are real experiences that individuals who may not fit into that box, that they can feel if they're in this field. So it's a made-up thing. Is alternating stereotypes to make them extreme? Is it a form of expression? No, it's the idea that when people feel like they're being stereotyped, their performance decreases. And so there's actually a lot of barriers if you are in STEM that we are trying to work to diminish. And so it's important, like even though like this presentation is kind of looking like chic and STEM, if we all support women, then it's better for all of us. And so it's important to recognize these things. And yes, some of these things are very negative, and it feels like we have to kind of jump over so many different ladders. But I think having the awareness of it and being able to kind of like attach yourself to different resources and support, you can overcome these things with time. And so some of those barriers can be lead towards anxiety. There's something called imposter syndrome. So you're in this role and you feel that, especially like as a woman of color, as a Black woman, that I have to show evidence to say that I'm supposed to be here. It doesn't matter that I have the same educational background as my peers. It doesn't matter that maybe I perform better because of I have been raised in the society with the differences in pay. These things are real, and they can be debilitating at times. Like it can be a lot on you, and so you may not want to do that. And so that can cause anxiety. That can also cause you not to kind of feel like, hey, they're not thinking I'm worth it. Why try? And so you can see that women in STEM, especially Black women in STEM, they don't stay in this career as long. I've been in this field only about 3 years, and like I said, mentorship is something that's very important to me, and also having mentorship with people who look like me, who are able to kind of be able to share their stories and stuff like that. That has been very impactful. And there's also something to be said. You can still learn from somebody who does not look like you, but sometimes there's an added bonus sometimes when you have other commonalities. And some other things that women of color have to endure when it comes to imposter syndrome and the stereotype threat is sometimes people are misidentified even in the field. Like you work there and someone may think you work in admin or in a different field. So 48% of Black women have been mischaracterized and for their job. 47 Latina, 23 Asian, 32 white. And when I was
Wow.
talking about the imposter syndrome, 77. That is over three-fourths, 77 of Black women in a STEM field deal with the imposter syndrome.
Wow.
65 Latinas, 64 Asian, 63 white women. So women in general, we are overcoming a sense that our peers don't feel like we don't belong. And when you and I keep talking about money because money in our culture, there's a sense of worth attached to it. Where you see value, you attach money. And so we, like I've already shared, we're not being paid as much. And when we're there, our ideas, our abilities are not being taken as seriously. And so whenever you have a team that's women led, or a department that's women led or something like that, that can be a transformative experience. And so for me, I'm very grateful that I am on a team that is women led, and we do have men on our team that support women. And there is a path for kind of going up in the ranks. Like I said, I've been here for 3 years. I started off working as part-time, and I've been able to kind of build my way up and kind of learning the skill set. And sometimes, even though like I said, like I don't know if it's our next question. I'm going to go back and talk about these soft sciences. You're still learning. Like I don't understand why they're called soft sciences, but our next question is actually looking at the leaky pipe phenomenon. And so that's looking again at, how are people who work in STEM, how are they brought into STEM? Just like in your pipes, like the water goes somewhere, like what's the path? How do I explore this? Like I might be interested in this. What do I need to do? And so that's what we call a pipeline. And the leakiness means that there are challenges that stop people from kind of flowing through the path. So like if you are in high school, you can start taking classes now that are related to STEM, whether it's statistics, whether it is a CTE course. Those courses are really great to take in high school because they allow you to be able to explore this content, internships, all these different things. They can help you by the time you get to college. You might have a better idea of what your major is. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but for people of color, graduating in 4 years, it's more difficult to do so. Our average is about anywhere between 5 years plus to finish a degree. And there's a lot of different obstacles associated with that, where you might be changing your major a couple of times. You might not have the income to be able to, or the scholarship coverage or the grant coverage to be able to pay for your courses. And so any opportunity to kind of get some kind of experience in something that you're interested in, whether it's STEM or not, because I do understand not everyone is interested in STEM, but if you are interested in STEM, being able to get connected with some of these opportunities early can be very helpful and allow you to stand out when it comes to graduate school or some of these job opportunities.
Ms.
So yeah.
Rountree, can I stop you just for 1 second? Because you said some things that were, you said a lot. That I'm just taking all of this in. And even though I'm not a science person, I'm just taking all of this in and imagining, wow, like the imposter syndrome, the leaky pipe phenomenon. And, here, that's one of our things. We're talking about creating opportunities for, young women, particularly underserved populations at our school, to look into these areas, right? Creating opportunities for equity and access. I would like to know if I can ask Ms. Richardson, as a professional who's on the other end, right? Because we have students that are going into this. As someone who has worked in this for a while prior to coming into to education full time, can you share your thoughts on some of this? I mean, did any of this play an impact on, your decisions with STEM as a science person?
Sure. For those that may not know, I worked in marine research for many years before coming into education. And so in that field, I can totally agree and totally can speak to some of these things that I experienced. For instance, I was one of a handful of women, um, and probably one of fewer, even fewer minority women within that. And so most of the PIs, what we call principal investigators, these were mostly men, mostly white men. Um, and I can even speak fewer to the amount of African American males that may have been also in my particular cohort at that time. Attending national meetings, I was always one of few that would be attending those meetings and even making presentations. So I would not necessarily say that that it stopped me there, but some of the things like the leaky pipe and that was kind of a way that, yeah, that sometimes we were I did kind of feel like perhaps maybe I was looked at differently because I was one of the few. One of the things that we did do at that time was we had a training program for minority students to try to get them to come on board and to learn more about research, and we sought national speakers of African American and other minority ethnicities to become speakers and to be mentors to these students at the time. So I do believe that, there has been some change, but yes, all of this has been something that I have experienced through the years.
Yes, I definitely agree. And I appreciate you sharing that, Ms. Richardson, because as you were talking, it also made me think too about the economic impact again. So I know I've been focusing a lot on race, but too, like, if you don't have access, like if you're not able to take off work, or if you're a student and you're working, and sometimes these internships are unpaid. And so trying to decide to like do a job versus doing an internship, that can be a very difficult decision that some other people, they may not realize that they're coming from a more privileged place where, because they were able to do this internship or this summer observation with someone else, they were able to get this practical skill that they were able to have on their resume and be able to have that. Sometimes I have felt like I don't know, like you might have missed out, like because you focus on another area, but um, even in that, even if you did not take those special classes, or even if you did not do that special internship, I still believe that there is a way if you're still interested in this. And it's just hard, but we have to overcome, and it's, but at the same time, I don't want to say that these things don't exist. I think that creates a problem. We must admit that there are disparities and there are differences. And we have two more questions, and we've kind of already talked about this, the community effect. So how do, the leaky pipe phenomenon, the stereotype, the gender essentialism, how do these things impact the community? What's the community effect? Is it prejudice in the neighborhood? Is it a term that companies use to recruit women? No, it's the effect that current demographics affect on interest levels. So we see that a community effect can lead women, it can lead individuals who are coming from a lower economical background, not even want to pursue something like this. It's like, no, I don't see anybody that looks like me. What's the point in doing this? A lack of interest, a lack of motivation. And we lose out. We lose out on a whole group of people that could be the next big thing. And I think we have two more questions. And once again, one of them is review. We already kind of talked about this. What are the soft sciences? Why are they considered soft? And
because of the discrimination, is that, did I
that
get that right?
that could be it, but there's also something else too when it comes in terms of the worth as well. So yes, discrimination, but I would also add they are paid less as well. So I would give either one of those answers. With Kahoot, you can only do one, but yes, there are discrimination to women in the field. And in the picture, it was Essence. They did a spread on women in STEM, and so it's just kind of like those women, you may not even know by looking at them that they work in STEM, and so they work in a lot of different industries. And so the last question is looking at what are those barriers that can drive out women in STEM. We kind of talked about this. I think we all know the answer on this one. It's a lack of representation. It's a lack of support. It's a lack of mentorship opportunities. Therefore, it's everything. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop our Kahoot. And we're going to go to our presentation. And some of these resources.
And if you want to make me the host again, is there a STEM study quiz?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Let me change that real quick and stop sharing.
And when you click, if you click on the pin for me at the top, and you can just, there you go. All right. All right. So I will share and then I'll let you kind of dictate where we need to go from there.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see. Oops, it won't let me share. Host disabled. Let's see what we could do.
Okay, you should be able to now.
All right. All right, let me put this in presentation mode.
Yes, ma'am. So the types of STEM careers, this is a interest survey that was put together by the Florida Polytech. I think it's a really great resource to kind of do, like, based on your interests, some STEM careers that you might be best suited for. At the same time, whenever you do any of these quizzes, they're guests, you know, they're looking at however you're feeling that particular day, what you're interested in right now. But if you're really interested in these things, I encourage you to have conversations with your guidance counselor, with your family members, looking to see if you can identify somebody in the community who does something in this role and ask them about their job. I think that's something right now, with so much of our life being shut down, being able to code call or email someone and just see if they'll take time to speak with you. That can be a worthwhile conversation. So I think participating in this survey is just a great entry point, because when you think of STEM, sometimes
look, I'm taking this quiz and I'm about to click this and two people on this link on live because I'm like, work by myself, work with a team. Let's see, work by myself. I feel like I'd be most productive with with other people in an office environment. I don't know, this I'm torn because I can do either one, to be honest with this one, but I'm gonna just choose this one. Oh, chemical engineering. Yeah, you don't want me doing that.
And what I love about this website is that it tells you how to apply, and it also gives you other STEM career opportunities. So getting into a top engineering school, it's telling you different majors, it has some videos. So it's a really great resources for families wanting to know about other STEM careers, because there's more than just, when you think of a scientist, there's like Ms. Richardson shared, working in marine bio, there's just a lot of different opportunities that are connected to STEM.
This is awesome. I love this site, and I feel like, wow, what you're sharing is great, because even for me, when we're talking about providing equity and access, I can definitely admit that science is a weak area for me. Mathematics is a weak area for me also. And so I love that this is a good springboard. If I were to talk to any of my mentees about that are interested in STEM, I love that you provided this resource that I could share with them and say, hey, here's a good place to start. Even if they're not interested in the school itself.
Right.
I see it says, what is it, Florida Polytech and University. But it doesn't just isolate you to looking for stuff at their school. It has related content outside of their university. This is powerful. Is there anything else you wanted me to search through here? Or did you want me to go back to the presentation?
We can go back to the presentation. And it's funny that you got that, because when I did it too, I got chemical engineering as well. And so it's just kind of like, oh, okay. But just like exploring just the different STEMs options. So this is another video, and just like Ms. Johnson said, this is from University of Connecticut. So obviously they're going to be trying to get you to go to that school. But what I like about this video is that there is women sharing their stories on what led them to STEM. And if we don't necessarily have to watch the video, but this is something that's a resource to you all. I like that. Okay, it's about 5 minutes. So if you guys remember Marie Curie, she was our first Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Uh-oh, let's see here. Oh, my bad. I apologize. Okay. I was trying to get it to play, but I did not see if I can. There we go.
Change the stigma against mental health. I will not be defined by others' expectations. I will be a mathematician at NASA. I will create safe spaces for all identities. I will empower the next generation. There is a wildlife veterinarian who travels the world with elephant, and he just does all these crazy things. And I never thought that that was possible. And now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, okay, this could be a job that I can do because someone's doing it already. I want to show people that you don't have to look a certain way or be a certain type of person to do it. You can just do it if you want to. Like, STEM is for everybody. As long as you work hard, like, you can accomplish whatever you want. I want to be an OBGYN, and I'm looking into maternal fetal medicine. I really want to work with low-income women, and specifically Latina and African-American populations. That's mainly the patient population I want to help, because that is my population, that's my community. I think it's really important to give back to where you come from and to advocate for your community as well. I am Latina American. I grew up in Boston, and so I want to work in Boston, and I want to help the same community that is too. Being a minority in STEM, it makes me feel accomplished, because my ancestors weren't able to do these type of things. They weren't able to even study STEM. They weren't even able to go to school. So being able to be here and be able to do this and be able to do something I love and be able to potentially change the world, I realized like how important it is to be a Black woman in the science field, and like how underrepresented we are, and how like I represent something for someone, or another little Black girl looking at me and like, oh, I can do this as well, because she looks like me and she's doing that. I'm part of the Society of Women Engineers. Going to SWE was just a way for me to like relax, be around my own peers, have a support system telling me I'm good enough. One of my biggest fears is sometimes I'm scared that, oh, my hijab might hold me back. And it honestly hasn't. If anything, it's made me more aware of who I am, knowing that every time I get up in the morning, I am representing my faith, my people. It's okay to just be yourself and to own who you are. Because at the end of the day, it's your value of yourself and your opinion of yourself that matters. To be a woman in STEM, you have to be thick-skinned, because you're probably going to be one of the only women in the room. We've done so much in the way of like the #MeToo movement, just integrating women into finding the Black hole and being doctors as opposed to just being nurses. Being a woman in STEM just shows how much drive every person that is in that field has, because you have to overcome so many obstacles in order to make it, but so many people are able to make it, which just shows how strong each and every one of us is. I want to make more awareness to diversity in the STEM field, particularly more awareness about like LGBT individuals in the STEM field. Outside of STEM, I found it important to find safe spaces. Personally, I identify as bisexual, and like coming to terms with that identity really evolved through my involvement in the Rainbow Center. My goal one day is to hopefully be in a certain position of power where I can be out about my identities, and so that young girls like me, when they're growing up, they can see me and other people like me and be like, yeah, I can make it too. Since I was a little kid, I think I knew that I wanted to make some type of impact on the world. I realized that that is a really hard mission to have. So making impacts on people in general, or just anyone that I interact with, is something that I want to do. I'm heavily involved in Student Ambassadors here on campus. We do outreach to K-12 students to get them to have an insight into the STEM world. Just having us, women, or just underrepresented students in general, go out and target these students gets them to have a role model. I had a little girl come up to me and say, one day I want to be just like you. And comments like that just make me want to be STEM even more and want to go out and find these students to get them to do STEM.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for sharing that video. I think when we were playing the game, we were talking about so many different things that were obstacles and barriers that women have to overcome to go into the field. But what I loved about this video is just really inspiring the representation and the diversity of each of the women and their stories and what led them to STEM, and just kind of like, once you get there and you're kind of realizing that dream and you're actually doing it, and you by being you can leave an impact in someone else's life. And so I really love that video.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Me just watching that, even though I'm weak in science, I feel empowered. It makes me want to be, I always say, a rah-rah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes me want to be a cheerleader for those who are interested in STEM, even though I may not know all of the professional language that goes along with STEM. But this is encouraging. And I hate that we only get an hour to do this session. I do know I'm gonna have to invite you back. I think I said that last time, and I've invited you back. But I mean, the stuff that you offer is so powerful that we can't do it all in one session. So I know we only have maybe 5 minutes remaining. So I'm going to go on to this next slide.
And we can go on to the next slide. So the next slide are just individuals in my life at NUSC that are mentors. And so I listed their information. So if you want to know more about them, you can contact them. But I think this last slide is the most relevant slide to you all. Like, okay, you got Ms. Rountree, you shared a lot of cool things. Like, what can I do? And so I listed some opportunities that are at NUSC. If you go back to the slide, that second slide, there are a couple of paid opportunities. Where did it go? Oh, I'm sorry. I must have linked the same thing twice, but
that's okay.
I can go back and send it again. But we have like a summer. They're all different links though. Okay, so this is the CCSD summer opportunities. And so this is more expansive. It's not just related to biomedical. So that's the type of work that I do at NUSC, is in the vein of biomedical. But there's opportunities with Boeing. There's opportunities with 4-H Club. There's a lot of different paid internships. And even though you might be thinking summer is a long time away, summer is not a long time away. From here on out, whenever you're looking for jobs or internships in the summer, March, April, that's kind of late in the game. But for our summer works opportunity, the deadline, I think, is like April 15th. So I kind of think of that being the same vein for some of the other programs. So we have the AHEC, and so that is great. I know it says dental, but at MUSC we have 6 colleges. AHEC is a part of all of our summer internships. So you can do it for pharmacy. A couple months ago, I met with the one of the coordinators for the College of Pharmacy. They had nobody sign up for this. So
What?
they're like open slots. And so right now, the other thing too, we're a university, and just like I said, with the University of UConn and Florida Poly, they're going to want you to stay here. And so if you're able to participate in some of these programs at MUSC and you have an idea or you have an interest in working in the medical field, I encourage you to do these things. Even if you want to use, my name, I don't mind, or whatever, like whatever you need to do to get your foot in the door. Because some of these opportunities, you're going to be competing with college students. You're also going to be competing with other high school students. And so I want to encourage you, even if you don't get it this year, keep applying. They're going to see your name over and over again. And one thing that I'm hoping to do is add my own program on this list. Right now, my program is halted. I'm in the grant process, but hopefully when we have a future connection with Ms. Johnson, I can be able to share my internship experience. We've had 2 students last year who participated in our program, but we weren't able to continue it this year. So if you know Madison Grant or Chloe Sanderson, they both completed our program last year. And so I'm really, mentorship is something that's very important. If you're finished with the program, we still try to interact with our students, because that's what's going to retain you. And we talked about before, like, once you're in the field, there's a lot of difficulties, and what's going to help you stay there is having some level of support. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to.
I had one quick question.
Mhm.
Do you guys still do the Scrubs program? I remember my daughter did Scrubs in middle and first part of high school, where they get to, maybe once or twice, maybe once a month or so, they go in different parts of the hospital and they get to work with, the x-ray technician,
Right.
And she did that. And I used to get emails all the time, letting us know when the program was, but I'm assuming they phased it out, because I haven't gotten an email from the director in a while.
Right. Now, I'm not familiar with that one, because I know that Roper also has something very similar. And so I can't remember if that's one of our programs or one of theirs.
Okay.
But
Could have been Roper, but it could have been, but it was definitely something that, was good to get the kids to see if they went to the different hospitals, worked on the maternity ward. And these were middle school age kids, kind of introducing them to that field. So I was just curious what you had, on that level.
Yes, ma'am. Discover MUSC, that's a good one. Unfortunately, we haven't done it this year. We did it last year, and there's some caveats with that, where not all schools are able to go, because all that kind of stuff. But we just kind of, we're at MUSC now, we're moving into a one MUSC, and so our diversity, equity, inclusion is all in one department. And so they're hopefully going to have a more comprehensive list of all of our programs on that one website, so that even though like that summer slide, I can't remember, that we showed, that had like there's a lot of different things on that have the different colleges. The EE symposium, that's another good one, but we weren't able to offer that. And so some of them have like a expiration day, kind of similar to what you said. I don't know about the tech part, but definitely look out for that summer career academy. And if I have anything else, I can reach out and share that information as well, because I'm also trying to get, like, this is something that's I'm interested in as well, and so I'm hoping to meet with some people from that team in the next couple of months.
And just to add, from a school counselor point of view, when you go into a STEM program major in the college setting, in a 4-year college, you get enhancements with your, if you get the Life Scholarship, or if you get the Palmetto Fellow Scholarship, you get $2,500 extra just for majoring in a STEM program. So if your $5,000 Life Scholarship that freshman year, if you're majoring in STEM, then that second, third, and fourth year, you maintain your 3.0, you're going up to $7,500. For Palmetto Fellows, you get $6,700 your first year, and it automatically, regardless of what your major is, it automatically goes up to $7,500. But if you are in a STEM field, that amount goes up to $10,000, That's a $10,000 scholarship, you know, that
Thank
you're
you for
getting.
sharing that, Ms. Graham. I had no idea.
Yeah, you definitely. So, you know, the state scholarships do, you know, cater, and they want to get people in the STEM program. And so those students do get those enhancements that go along with their scholarships.
Wow, I'm just fascinated. I feel like this has been a great session and definitely not a lot of time. We will have to bring you back, Ms. Rountree, if that's okay. But I feel like this is so much, and I'm definitely not ashamed to say, you know, what areas I struggle with, and science is definitely one. I've said that before, and I feel like everything that you've provided, even the encouragement piece, it needs to be shared. And you know, Madison, which is so funny, her picture is right here. Madison Madison was one of my mentees here at James Allen Charter High School, and also our president of the United Sisters Association last year. So I would love to have her testimony on how that has helped her. But does anyone else have anything to share? I know the bell is going to ring in maybe 2 minutes. I will be inviting you back though.
Yeah, one thing though, that now that I've already done it, we already have this template made, so I'm really grateful for that. So it's done. I'll have to do that part again. But yeah, if you have any questions, like I shared before, like I was really green to this. I had no idea about research before really working here, and I'm still learning. So even
Well,
with oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Even with having a parent that works in STEM. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, even with
Well, we'll have to bring your parent too next time. We'll have to get your parent. Look, I rope in all resources. I don't care who it is, you know, but I appreciate you joining us today. And on the behalf of the Equity and Access team and those who have worked to make sure we had things available for Women's Month, I'm grateful for you. And I'll be inviting you back to share some more. This will be shared on our website so that people can check it out. And also you'll have an opportunity to share it if you need it. I'll let you know when that is available. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the call here. But if there are any questions, feel free, for anyone that's viewing this after it ends. If you have any questions, feel free to email myself, Ms. Michelle Johnson at James Allen Charter High School, or Ms. Rountree, and or any of the participants that you see with us today. If you have any questions about how you can participate in any of these activities that Ms. Rountree spoke of this morning. Thank you.
Thank